Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV, another game of interplanetary I Spy going on here, and today we're looking at possible cave dwellings on Mars. Before we start, take a look at this. We have some cave dwellings here with a sort of monastery on top here. I'm not sure where this is exactly. I haven't actually looked up where that is, but there's all sorts of, if you just type in cave dwellings and go to images, you should come up with something similar on Google. There's another interesting one here. Okay, take a look at that. Okay, I'll put clips of these in at the end as well and compare them to what we're looking at. There's lots of these. These look pretty cool, some of them. And that one was my favourite for now anyway. And particularly what we're looking at today are two sets of images. We have this set of images here from Sol 2242 and this other set of similar images of the same area from Sol 2249. And now these were put up only like last night, I think, or this morning. And I jumped on them straight away. I thought, yeah, great. And what's also really cool is we got a close-up here of what I call the sewer outlet, which is this image. You can actually see the sewer outlets here, or what I actually believe they are storm drain overflows, and not necessarily a sewer outlet. But you can see more on that if you go to this video, which I published back in March, sewer outlet on Mars Mountain. Okay, now all the stuff I'm showing you today is near this area, but further over to the left. Okay, there's some really interesting structures that we're mainly looking just over here, not right here, but over to the left of it. Okay, and there's also this thing, the pointed dome. I did a video on this a while ago. That was back in March also of this year. There's some more close-up images of that, which is really cool. So we're doing a bit of an update on some of the things that I've already published, and these seem to confirm what I showed in those earlier videos. Okay, you can see the sewer outlet here, 3 outlets, and you can see the water, where the water would have run down, and it's eroded away the rock, and we've got these erosion lines coming down the side of the mountain. But there's something else in this set of images here, which I thought was more interesting, because we can see it straight on instead of from an angle like we got there. We got this thing. Now let's find the raw image. Is this one here? Okay. Now this is just to the left of the sewer outlet. We've got this structure on the mountain behind. Now it's a little bit dark, so the thing to do with this is to put it in your graphics processing software and brighten it up and add a bit of contrast. And what we have are what look like cave dwellings, okay, with lots of little holes in the side of this mountain. Now you can't see them very well until you brighten the image up. So what I did is I enhanced it. Here's a raw clip. Here's a much brighter clip. Now you can see I've really brightened that up, and you can see them now. You had to add a bit of darkness and brightness, and then it would push the shadows, so you can see where these little holes in the mountainside are, which look very similar to some of those that I just showed you on Earth. Okay, we got some smaller holes here, like in a row, just there. We've got some large kind of archways here, all in a line, which come right round to here, and we've got some other archways and big holes and what they're like windows and structures up here as well. Okay, now this isn't very clear. Now this is a long way away, but what they've done is they've used the Chemcam, which usually takes photos of close-up photos of the ground. They've used that and they've zoomed right into Mount Sharp, which is probably over a mile away from where the rover is, and we've got some nice close-ups. And what's good about these images is that they're not over compressed and downsized like the mass cam images are. The Chemcam images are much better quality, and they're PNG files and not JPEG files, which means they're not downgraded and they haven't had data loss from compression. Okay, so there is that one. I thought that was pretty cool. It's not that clear because it is a long way off, but this is huge. I would say this is probably a couple of 100 feet high, maybe about 100 feet. I don't know exactly, but it's very large, this area I'm showing you today. Okay, so this is a long way off, but it's big, so we can still see some detail. Okay, so there was that one. We also have Sol 2242 here, which is near where I just showed you, just a bit further over, or further up, I think. And we have this image here. Very similar to what I just showed you, but less complex and smaller. There we are. But you also have a row of what look like archways or windows, quite large. And you also have some smaller ones down here, dotted around in kind of rows. There's a row of 3 there, there's a row along the bottom there. Now this is, I haven't enhanced this much at all. I've based, all I've done is add a bit of contrast and brightness. That's all I've done to it. And there's also this down here. You've got another row of them here. A little bit vague there, but not quite so clear. They seem a bit smaller. But there's also some over here. There's one here, and there's a bunch of them here. Now, if you look carefully, these images are a little bit pixelated. I have enlarged it a little bit, and what I've done is I've added a little bit of blur to the image just to get rid of some of the pixelation. But basically, it's still quite a low-res camera, but because it's zoomed in a long way, we're actually seeing some good detail. So there's a very powerful zoom lens on the Curiosity Rover, and it can zoom in for miles. And occasionally we get good pictures like this that haven't been downgraded, and you can see pretty good detail. So that was cool. So we also have this set of images here from 2247. Now this is the mass cam. Now these aren't as good quality, these images, but they're not too bad. But they have a grid on them, which you can get rid of by using a little bit of blur. And the main ones I was interested in is this one here, and there's another one below, showing the dome that I previously published. Now, I did a video a while back. Let's see if we got it here. This one here. Pointed dome on Mars Mountain, Forbidden City Observatory. Now, I did this back in March this year, and some really interesting structures up on the mountain here, and you can see a clear dome. I'll let that play through a little bit, actually, just to show you. Now this was taken from further back, but also zoomed in, okay? So the effective range of the view is actually fairly close, at the bottom of Mount Sharp. But the actual rover was probably more like a mile and a half away at the time, but it's probably moved about half a mile since then. And we've got some more pictures. Now, this is a really interesting structure. And you can see this nice kind of shape down here with some structures to one side of it on the left. Okay, so you can check that video out, because this goes into a lot more detail about where it is and how big it is. This is huge. This is about 300 or 400 feet high. I would say around 300 feet. But we got some closer images of that, and I'm just going to show you those now as well. I've done a little miniature gigapan of this, just of that end. And here I've stitched 3 images together, and we have the mountain here. Now the sewer outlet I showed you a minute ago, and the other things like the little cave dwellings are further over to the left of this. This is further over to the right, okay? It's about probably a mile away from the sewer outlet. It's quite a long way, okay? But it's all along the same mountain ridge, the lower slopes of Mount Sharp in Gale Crater. And here it is. This is the raw image. All I've done is remove the grid from the image, and you can see it there really clearly. It's a bit blurry because it's a long way off, of course, and this being a mass cam shot is a bit out of focus, as always. They never seem to focus on anything really, but basically, even though it's out of focus and it's a long way off, you can actually see it's there. And this confirms what I thought. It's a really nice pointed dome with a structure next to it on the left, and there's something just in front of it there. Okay, I've done a couple of clips of this. Here we are. Here's the raw clip, which I just showed you. And I've really brightened that up and added contrast, and that's cleared the sky up which looks rather odd, but it is real. And then I've really darkened it then to bring out the shadows and shapes. But we're never going to see a great deal of detail here because this is the mass cam, and the mass cam, for some reason, they never seem to really focus it. But you can see these shapes if you zoom in. There's something in front here like a rectangular structure. There's that kind of small dome or kind of semi-rectangular structure here. Now this looks a lot more rounded. These parts looked a lot more kind of squarish in the previous set of images. Now, whether that's down to the light being different, it's a lot brighter behind it, I don't know. I think what it's done is the light has kind of bled round the shape slightly more. So we're probably seeing more of an accurate shape here. But it may be the way I've enhanced it. Let's go back to the raw image and have a look at the raw image. Yeah, you can see actually quite a square-ish angle just here. But this looks like another little dome there, okay? And this has got a nice point to it in the raw image. But I've used quite a severe lot of contrast here, and it's slightly destroyed the edge of this a bit. And when you go, if you add too much contrast to an image like I've done here, the edges tend to erode slightly, so that they're not quite as accurate as they ought to be, perhaps. But there we are. You can see the details. Almost kind of looks like a head. May well be. It could be a giant sphinx or something. Who knows? Hidden on top of that ridge, just behind this ridge. Who knows? But it looks to me like a massive dome, and it is really, really quite large. It doesn't look that big, but this is a long way off, and it sticks right up. And I would say it's at least 300 foot tall, possibly 4, and maybe even taller. Here's the dome here, and there's this other thing here sticking up, which could be which looks kind of squarish. It's got kind of steps to it, almost like a ziggurat. There are other ziggurats on this mountain, so it wouldn't surprise me if this is one. So I'll do some little clips of those and put those in for you at the end as well. But I did another pan here. This is the left side from this set of images. Here's the sewer outlet or storm drain overflow again. You can see the outflows here, and you can see the erosion where it's eroded much more here than elsewhere in the area, which means that there was heavy water flow coming from this dome here, and not so much from the other dome and mountainous structures. Otherwise they would all have similar erosion marks on them. But that is heavy water erosion has done that. Okay, and that's pretty cool, but it's still quite a long way off, and it's a mass cam set of images, so there isn't great clarity there. Okay. But there was also this thing, which I also did a video on a while back. I think I called it the bunker structure or something. Some of you may recognise this. I'll put a link to the video that I did about it. Nice close-up of this thing here. So what I did with this is I got 4 images here and stitched them together to show this end of the Mount Sharp slopes. And we have loads of interesting structures up here, which I've covered before in many videos, including this bunker shaped thing. I'm not saying it is a bunker, but it's shaped like one, this thing here. Incidentally, I did a video on this also in 2017, Mars cover-up, NASA hides buildings, bunkers and sphinxes. And from this angle, it's lit slightly differently and it's much brighter. You can actually see here on this weird kind of dome structure, there's some kind of pattern carved into the top of it here. Okay. Now the weird thing is, in the close-ups, this pattern is not very visible. Now that may be down to the angle of the light, and in fact it was taken from a different angle and a different distance. But I'll play that through a little bit because it will show you more of a close-up there. You can see these general details are here, and you've got these weird pipe-like structures on the side of it. There's a raw clip. But this is a completely different angle. We're seeing it more from over to the left and further back, okay? And you've got this weird kind of carved emblem or something on the side of it. But the weird thing is, when you look at the closer image, which I've got here, that carved emblem is there, but it's very vague. Now, this is partly due to the fact, I think, that this is from an image that had a grid over it. And if I show you the raw images here, they've all got this grid on, okay? Let's try and find that one. That one there, okay. That's the one we want. This is the grid. You can see the grid. Now, when you remove this grid, you have to blur it, get rid of it, okay? A small amount of blur. I use a little bit of Gaussian blur. 0.1 I think I use. And that gets rid of it. But what it also does is it blurs everything else. So you lose the sharpness of the image, and you lose a lot of definition. In fact, you can see that thing in there, that circle, okay? You can actually see it there. But of course, when you get rid of the grid, it gets rid of some of that detail. But it is there, you can see it. It's just a little bit vague. And I haven't pushed the contrast very hard here because I wanted to see into the shadows here to see if there's anything underneath this end here, like an entrance. And there may well be. There seems to be a sort of door-shaped thing there, but it's just a little bit too vague to really tell. But that circular pattern is there. You can just about make out those parts there. What I'll do is I'll really darken that down, and hopefully that will pop out a bit more. You can see that weird kind of sun pattern just here, okay? Yeah, just here. You've got the central part here, and you've got these parts coming out like rays or something, okay? It's a bit vague here because it's not a great angle, but it's there, you can see it. But the weird thing is, this proves that getting a closer image of something doesn't always make it look clearer, because it really depends on the camera angle and the lighting and lots of other factors involved, the level of zoom, the level of focus, and many other things when it comes to Mars images. You can clearly see it on this one, but of course this is in colour, so the colour may actually help sometimes bring out some details that you don't normally see. It's got this kind of, I mean, I've enhanced the colour on this, it's gone this sort of greeny brown colour. But what is that? It's got this kind of circular part to it with these bits sticking out. Very odd. I've been looking at this bunker thing now for years, and every time I look at it I think there's something really odd about it, and it really doesn't seem like a natural structure, much like some of these other things, like the storm drain overflow stroke sewer outlet thing here. You can see it in this video, sewer outlet on Mars Mountain. This goes into a lot of detail, not only about this structure, but the other structures around it. And we've also got a massive kind of hangar structure here, which may have been joined to this structure here. This may have been joined across here. And we got like a step pyramid kind of thing going here, like a bent pyramid, I should say, like the one at Darfur in Egypt. And I mean, a lot of this is natural. This kind of big thing that looks like a wall here, that is natural, but there's loads of unnatural structures around it, both below it and above it. A lot of them are heavily damaged and eroded, and are probably millions of years old, but some of them are still intact or partly intact, like this thing here, and some of this stuff. And you've even got sort of structures cut into the side of the mountain, which look like dwellings. And unfortunately, with a lot of these images, we never seem to get close enough to see them in detail. But we have here, we've got like a hole in the side of this kind of structure here, which is symmetrical. It does go into more detail about some of these things in a minute. There's the storm drain overflow from a different angle. There's loads and loads of images of this thing, and in fact you can see it throughout the Curiosity Rover images. You can see this in the background looming over what would have been a lake bed. This would have drained into the lake bed at the bottom of Mount Sharp in the past, and I actually think there's a sewage system and drainage system up on Mount Sharp, that when it used to rain on Mars, it may have flooded because the water would have run down the side of the mountain in a torrent. And to control this, they must have had quite a considerable kind of overflow system to stop them being flooded out. And basically, this would have removed a lot of that water from the area and then just dumped it into the lake, and stopped the buildings nearby from being overrun by massive amounts of water that would have come down the mountain. Okay, that's the theory anyway. But this a fascinating area of Mars, and I've been doing videos about Mount Sharp now for many years now, and occasionally we get lucky and they take some close-ups like we have here, and these Chemcam images are really good because basically they're not downgraded, which means we're seeing the actual photos as they were taken and not compressed and damaged like they are often with the other images taken by the rover. So that was really cool. So that was about it really. Let's have a quick look at those cave dwellings again, because I thought they were interesting. This is the smaller set here. You can see the rows of these holes, okay, like we have on Earth. We've even got some over here, but they're not very clear. And I haven't really pushed this. I think if I push the contrast a bit more, I could probably pull out some more. I will add some extra clips of that in a minute. This one was cool because it's much larger. And you can see a definite row of these things that look like archways, very similar to the ones we have on Earth. If, like me, you've been on holiday to interesting places like in North Africa and Turkey and Greece and Italy and places like that, and Spain, you'll see ancient structures like this cut into the hills and mountains, often many thousands of years old. And this looks very similar to some of the things you might see on Earth. Got a whole row of these large archways here going right round, and some smaller ones here, smaller holes here, some at the bottom. A bit vague, but it is a long way off, and we're only seeing anything at all here because these structures are so enormous. Okay, so that was about it really. Thanks for watching, everybody. Do check out these videos. I'll put links to these other videos coming up at the end, and you can just there'll be like a hyperlink card at the end of the video for each of these. So we got the Mars cover-up, buildings, bunkers and sphinxes, that one. We got the pointed dome on Mars Mountain, Forbidden City Observatory, and then we have the sewer outlet stroke storm drain overflow. Okay, so there's that video as well. So I have covered a lot of these things before, but it's really nice when we get images of the same things that kind of verify what we thought originally, because we have closer detail like we have here, and it verifies kind of what I said before. Thanks for watching, everybody. Links will be below as usual. Clips coming up now.